Shambho Mahadeva Ishwaro Rucha Om Shanti. So Athayat Anasakyanam. We said about the fasting. We covered about all the austerities. We said, Bhagavan said, one gains merely by self-control. All this, whatever one gains by these austerities, because it is the highest austerity and nothing can be comparable to it. The highest Brahmacharya, that one can control, one can gain, is through self-control. It's a control of the senses, control of the practices. It is the other rituals that has been mentioned about the Satara and fasting, Maunam, etc. They are all upadhis for attainment of such self-control. They also need self-control. Maunam, as we said, it's not possible. The mana, to get into the Maunam, one has to be in real penance for that. That is Brahmacharyatam. It is not simply a very simple process of Brahmacharyatam. After the Brahmacharyatam, straight away one gets into the status of the Upasana, Upasak. And he gains the benefit of the Nidhyasana very soon. So the Guru can converse with him. As we said, there are mystical experiences. They are not explainable. See, here Maharishi is, as I told you in the last class also, I believe, he is trying to tell us through physical experiences, like a comparative study, or this mystical experiences cannot be explained. It's a mystery and it remains a mystery. It cannot be explained. How the mystery would be in case somebody experiences in physical sense, he presumes certain things or he creates certain similes and then tells us according to it. Like a person who has not walked in pitch dark. Nowadays it's very difficult because everywhere there are lights. I don't think anybody would have experienced the pitch dark, what you call. See, during Amavasya day, when you go to villages where there is no electricity, no other facilities, if you want to really know what is pitch dark, you can know that. Nothing can be seen, Not even the closest thing where you are putting the next step cannot be seen. Unless you know the path, it's not possible. And those days, especially in that Amavasya day, you won't find any stars also. To get even that light, that also would not be there. And then only you can experience that pitch dark. Now you tell me how to explain that pitch darkness to you, like what I told you. See, that you cannot see anything. Now can you experience what you cannot see anything? Closing your eyes, but still you are seeing something, light you are seeing. There, that also is not there. Here, if you close your eyes, you can see the light. There, that is also not there. That pitch darkness, how to explain? Or, for that matter, anything, you see, for that matter. Absolute tiredness, how will you explain? He is dead tired, we say, equivalent to death. Now, how is death? That also has to be explained. How will you experience the death? It's not possible. Dead tired, so maximum tiredness. Now, that maximum tiredness to individual is different again. So, this is how he tried to tell us how it would be, that mystical experiences when you gain the benefit of the transcendence that takes place, is what he is trying to tell us. So we should not go by the exact meaning of the physical meaning of that. It is, that this is how he has tried to tell us that this should be the experience, because they are experiences which is not written down. Because there is nobody to write that. The person who has experienced it, he is not a karta at that moment of time, because he has already merged with that. And not being a karta, he will not inscribe or instruct, except for the great tapasvis and jnanis through meditational process. They gain the reflex of those experiences, is how this has been written. So Bhagavan says in the second paragraph here, a person who transcends. Many of the things I have to read because these are such experiences which need not be explained. Persons who transcends mortal experience and is blessed with an access into the realm of Brahma has to pass through various mystical experiences. Some of the words contained in this passage that we are discussing refer to certain subtle experiences in the higher realms of being, which a seeker would encounter on his ascent to Brahman, the Absolute. It is said here that there are two oceans in the realm of Brahman. Again, we start from here, the mystical experience, two oceans. The two oceans filled with the nectar, where the words this said is that the word and that both come together. One is that, you see, it is that said here that there are two oceans in the realm of Brahman filled with nectar, where the word this and the word that both come together in a fraternal embrace. It is as if two oceans joining together to form a single ocean. There are two different nectars, two different experiences. That nectars in the sense amrtatva, the immortality. Immortality has got two levels, he says. See, these two levels have to merge together, and the experience of those two oceans merging together, how it would be, this is not explainable. So you just imagine two oceans which is filled of different nectars joining together, and it becomes one great big nectar. That's all he says. See, it's not, that's why it is known as mystical experience. No words can explain them, because they are it is like in our physical science, our physical world, we say as the sensation or sensory system, senses, or experience of that senses. I feel the chill. The chill is totally a personal perception of that. The chill is totally different for others. So like that, it's all different. So it cannot be explained again, this being mystical. So some of the experiences are those. So you must take with that allowance and with that perception in that. Ara and Nya, put together is Aranya. Ara and Nya are the two names given to these two different oceans. They exist beyond this world. They are in the third world altogether. Not in the physical world, not in the atmospheric world, not even in the astral world, but in the spiritual world. There is another miraculous thing which one can see after going there. There is a tank filled with exhilarating nectar, which is the food of gods and the food for those who have shed their physical bodies. It is immortal bliss, and one would experience there. It does not mean it is actually a physical food. which one would taste through the tongue. As I mentioned, they are subtle references to mystical experiences of the soul, which are referred to here as the contact with tons of nectar of exquisite sweetness. There is a tree there which yields all one asks for. We know about that. Kalpavruksha. You sit under that tree and ask for anything, you will materialize it. See, the word is especially, that's why you see, you sit under the tree, ask for something, it will materialize. So, first of all, so you should understand from, see, like I'll tell you only this sentence I will translate so that you can get the idea of all others. He says, if you sit under this tree and ask for it, it materializes. So first of all, the one who should know, which is this Kalpavruksha, one has to attain that immortality to gain the vision of the Kalpavruksha. Otherwise it's not possible. To attain the immortality, he has to pass through the Brahmacharya, Upasana, Nididhyasana, things like that. After that, it is definitely, one can ask that, will there be anything to be asked? First of all, for that soul which is experiencing that nectar, that immortality, that anything, what is left for that Atma, which requires the Kalpavruksha in order to gain something? So that itself is a imaginary field. So he says that if at all that soul requires, that's it, clarification there. If at all that requires, it has to find out the Kalpavruksha and ask for it so that it will materialize, he said. So it's only for ultimately, when you concise that and when you look deep into it, it's only for material requirements one asks for something. Because asking is done by a particular desire. And desire is meant only for a particular status of the Atma being in the lower consciousness. And being in the lower consciousness, one cannot attain higher consciousness. Being in the lower consciousness, one cannot have the facility of Kalpavruksha. It is out of question. It's an imagination of being. So only he wants to tell us that, look, whether you require or not, such things are available in that highest consciousness where it can give anything and everything. It's not mean, it doesn't mean that one is there for asking for something. Probably in that Kalpavruksha, under the Kalpavruksha, nobody has asked so far anything. It should be like that. No soul has asked, because there is no soul which requires a material from that. It is not necessary. Because it is not a consumer of that product, of that which Kalpavruksha can give. Even though in Puranas, the mention of Kalpavruksha is very much there. It's only to tell us that, look, this Kalpavruksha, and then has been told about the rules of Kalpavruksha, how it has to be kept. So we also talk about some of the vrikshas that is there in the physical world. We call them also Kalpavrikshas. The one who gives lot of shade, people, Katri. One who gives lot of fruits, Tulsi. Everything is Kalpa. Kalpavriksha, that's not a vriksha. But it's all considered as Kalpa. Aushadhis, giving us Kalpavriksha. They are all giving something or other. They all give you lots of shade, lots of this, lots of that. So you can compare more or less the superlative of that is called the Kalpavriksha in the wherever this world is, which is known as the spiritual world. So this Kalpavriksha is the one. So when you transcend yourself into that, you will find that everything is achieved. So that feeling of everything is achieved, He says that facility is available. That facility is known as Kalpavriksha. There is no specific vriksha with branches and leaves. It's not that. It's an experience that you gain. You understand that? So nectar, tank of nectar, doesn't mean there is a tank filled with something, it's not a liquid or solid. It's nothing like that. It's an experience of immortality that any point of time you are in a position to have that feeling of experience. For that, a material is not. So that's why he said it's a mystical, subtle experience which cannot be explained in the words. So when a soul get the krama mukti, releasing, having krama mukti, having released, gains these are the experiences one gains when the body-mind consciousness is not there. When the body-mind consciousness is not there, absolutely no attachment towards those materialistic requirement of the sustenance of the body and mind. So having abstained from the sustenance of the body and mind, you will gain the benefits of the transcendence, experience of transcendence, which is known as absolutely spiritual. And those spiritual experiences are more or less, these are like this. So one can attain these benefits out of it, that one is absolutely immortal at all times. And there is an assurance. What is the meaning of it? First of all, he said, Ara, Anya, there are two oceans which are of nectars. Having joined there and having gone there through that, he again says there is a tank of nectar. What does it mean? Now when you look at it, it will look absolutely not logical at all. That's why he says don't look into those meanings of that. The having a tank of nectar in the sense, that means you have got nectar in store at all times. The Atma who releases the body-mind consciousness and goes into the Brahmaloka, will have an experience of a total assurance that any point of time the immortality is there. The tank of nectar is there means there is an assurance of immortality at all point of time, because any time you require, you can take it and have it. This is how you have to analyze this. Am I getting it? Yes. This is what I think. So, it said Kalpavriksha, as the Puranas called it, the tree that gives you anything you ask. If you think something while sitting under it, it immediately materializes. Such a kind of tree present there in this higher realm, where the nectarine immortality flows as it were from every side. This is the city of Brahman, which cannot be entered by those whose minds are extrovert, whose senses seek sense objects outside. It's an invisible fortress of the Brahman. No one can conquer it. So he says that one cannot. One who is seeking for the senses outside for the sensual pleasure, one cannot attain that. One cannot attain whose minds are extrovert. They also cannot be attained. No, they are all looking for external objective experiences. So such people are unable to experience that. So they will not be in a position to pierce through this layer. No one can break through it. No one can touch it or contact it, because it's not physical fort. It has very, very rarely been conquered by anyone. Those who have been wedded to the world experience through the mind and senses are unfit to contact or enter into the city. There is inside the city a hall which is called Prabhumitam, built by Brahma himself, shining like gold, resplendent in every way, into which the soul is introduced. These experiences are also described in the other Upanishads in different ways. All very mystical indeed, referring to different exhilarating experiences of the consciousness through which we pass when we get separated from the body and come nearer and nearer to what is more and more universal. So it is as if you are taken to, they say, it's again not seeing that. Some people say, after that one is taken to such and such place. One Vimana comes and some people come. You have got a reserved seat in that. They make you sit. Vimana goes in high speed. All devatas will be around you. No? These are all written in Puranas. So these people also, some people also say that, when they are not well and sick and sleeping and dreaming and all, some people have expressed these experiences. When the body, when the mind, when the Atma releases this body, he says, what is the meaning of devatas around? That means all the positive sagunas. Absolutely, there are no durgunas are there. There are absolutely immortal around. Devatas are absolutely immortal. So that immortality is surrounded by him. There is an assurance of that world. The feeling of the Atma will, when it is releases, they're all, when it happens, just while releasing the body. That's all. After that it is in some other way. So there the senses, quite possible that you have that ecstasy, what they call it as, where there is no karta, as I told you to explain and inscribe it somewhere. There is no one. But he, as I told you, mystical experiences have been imaginarily explained like this, that it goes to that golden hall and things like that. So don't think they are there, they are not there. It is only some kind of similarity of that means everything nice. What do you mean by gold hall and all that? One feels nice to be in that such a thing. So just feeling of that. He is only explaining about the superlative of the absolute happiness. That's all. In that absolute happiness, none of these, not necessary. One has to see all this. This is only explaining that absolute happiness when it is being released. That's why the death is the most wonderful experience, somebody said. So this experience is that when it is releases, absolutely wonderful. Language fails here, words cannot express. What all this really means, it's only an indication symbolically of miraculous experience and wonders, what we cannot dream of. That's so simple. That's why I wanted to read it to you, so that it's clear to you, through which we have to pass a result of self-control, practice of meditation on Brahman. For your information, Adi Shankara, again, I repeat what he has told. Being in this Sharira, having detached from the consciousness of the body and mind, a person who identifies himself as only the Atma, he feels the same experience. It's all over, that's all. Nothing seen, it's only that brightness. So that is what it is. Then in the next shloka, in the fourth shloka, Bhagavan says, Tadya ekvidavaram cha nyam, continues like that. What is that here? Here he calls about the freedom. Freedom, untrammeled in our reward. If we could practice this technique of meditation, we would be the possessors of all these treasures. The nectars, the trees, the exuding ambrosia, and the oceans of the nectar, etc., referred to here, or as these would be our possessions, and we would be rejoicing in these experiences and be one with them, provided that a great condition is here. We are able to withdraw our senses and mind, center our consciousness in that which we call Brahman. Then we are free, and this freedom is what we call as moksha or liberation. So Brahmacharyatum. So this is what is Brahmacharyatum. To be practicing the observance of the functions of Brahman himself. So you become the Brahma. So Brahmavid, Brahmaiva Bhavati is the meaning of it. Nothing other than that. Is it okay? We already learned this. Brahmavid, Brahmaiva Bhavati. This is not just for saying, it has to be practiced, otherwise it is not possible. So the Brahmacharyatva is not that easy as it has been explained by. And partiality of the Brahmacharyatva, in the lifelong I have been doing fasting, so I must get moksha, is not possible. Is one of the methods of the Brahmacharyatva. And the fasting should be in that prescribed manner of fasting. Fasting, there is a chapter of fasting. I have already described this fasting long back, how the fasting has to be done. No, go up and then come down. No, there is a method how the fasting has to be done. And what does it mean by fasting? It's not only not eating. Maunam we have explained recently. Some of the points we have explained in the last class. So this is how it is. This is Brahmacharya. This is how you get a liberation. Now here we go into section 6. It is 8.6.1. 8.5.4 is over. Yeah. This is the course after death. Ataya eta hridasya nanyastha pingalasyani. Okay. Pingalasyani and mastishtani shuklasya नीलस्य पीतस्य लोहितस्येत्यसौ वा आदित्यः पिङ्गला एव शुक्ल एव नील एष पीत एष लोहितः. So we are talking about the death. Here there is small technicalities here. He said that the nervous system and the color of the liquid in that the fluid in that is of different colors, which is connected with the Surya. So we'll just read it out. In connection with the description of the passage of the soul after death of the body, we are introduced into a new subject, that of existence of certain physic nerve currents inside us known as nadis. These are certain nadis in our bodies which exist very subtly in the astral layer of our personality. See, this is where the medical science or any other science could not reach. They are absolutely in subtle. He says in the astral layer. In the astral layer there are nadis connected with us, our personality, and control not only the entire physiological system but also our minds, breathing process, the entire personality. Those who are versed in the science of Hatha Yoga will know very well the importance of these nadis. We have learnt about various nadis. 101 nadis are important nadis, but there are thousands of nadis in the Sharira. Out of them, 101 are very important nadis. Out of them, again, to be specific, for the death and the prana to travel, 3 nadis are important. Sushumna, Ida, Pika. Atayayeta hridayasya nadyataha. So here he explains about this nadis. Kanti shuklasya neelasya pitasya lohitasya. The white colors, no? Shuklasya is white, neelasya is blue, pitasya is yellow, and the lohitasya is the black. These currents are supposed to be filled with these nerve currents. Now we think that energy, which has got nothing, it is some kind of electricity, is nothing. But here, it is specific. See there, that's why these Maharishis are great scientists who have explained all these things. These nerve currents which are passing through are supposed to be filled with certain subtle juices. Nerves itself subtle in the astral layer. Nerves are very subtle, and in that there is a subtle juice. No? Now you can imagine, which is known as again Sukshmata, Param Sukshmata, which are referred here as ANIMNA. Those juices are known as ANIMNA. Very subtle exudation which controls the humors of the body. The point that Upanishad makes out particularly here is that there is a tremendous connection between the sun and the nervous system, or these nerves. It will be a great secret revealing to us how one knows why we call as universe as one, we as one, everything is one, can be derived from these explanations. That's why Maharshi has specifically put this chapter here. There are so many chapters connecting us as one. Now, like we said, there's nothing beyond Atma. Atma is Brahman. Atma again is going into the Brahman only. So that's why Sarvam Kalvidam Brahmam, they said. So when Sarvam Kalvidam Brahmam, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati, Brahmacharya towards that Brahma, observance of the disciplines of the Brahman is called a Brahmachari. No other things, you see. Brahmacharya in different ways or different fashions, if you want to explain, it will be an incomplete and absolutely misleading factor about the Brahmacharya. They are not like that. So, between sun and these nerves, there is a link, we said. How is the link with the sun and this? Now, Maharshi says it has been, they might have experimented it definitely. It's not that the sun is spatially very far from us. Even though we call it as about 93 million years away and all that, miles away. We have a false notion that the stars in the heaven and the sun in the sky are very far and they have no connection at all with us here on the earth. See, now he's starting that. That means they are all very close to us. Gradually you'll say he is with us. Gradually tells us that, you see, to be making you feel that he is not just telling for the sake of it and you just listen to that and go without any explanation. No, he has not done that. He has explained why he has justified, why he has told that. This intervening space, which is the apparent cause for this seeming disconnection, is not empty. It's a vital fluid. Everything is in a vital fluid now. How beautiful, I was just contemplating on this. How to identify and understand this. Like, simple. Suddenly it struck. What is it? What I could derive, or I can derive out of it. Or God gives us that knowledge now, is that. Like an embryo, child in the fluid, in the uterus, in the womb. The whole vibrations are passed on to the child only through this liquid, this fluid. All the informations, all the vitalities, all the growth, everything is transmitted to that child through that fluid. Even though the fluid is not considered to be a very important part when we are discussing about various other factors of the child being in the womb. The universe is that womb. And when a child is in that, how these vibrations are received. So that means we also say that the medical science as well as the spiritual science, every science has explained that whatever the mother is experiencing, the child is experiencing. If the child has to experience the sensation, the thoughts of the mother is experienced by the child, not just a physical application, then we can understand, okay, through the fluid, it gets up. The thought, the way the mother thinks is transmitted into the child. This is how he develops. There's a great connection between them. How is this thought being transmitted here? The moment there is a thought created in us, this thought is transmitted in the form of vibrations in the whole body, in all the senses and sensory system. It is not the thought is remaining only somewhere in a corner of brain or what we call it as mind. The moment a thought is created, I told you last time also, when a thought is created, it has got a link with the preceding thoughts, because in the same utensil you pour the different liquids. Same way, if the thought is created, because it is interlinked to everything with the fluid, in the sense, the whole nerve, the sensory system is fed with that particular thought. So, that thought which is created by you at that particular moment of time, if you touch a substance, an object, your touch, sensation of the touch will be absolutely based on the thought at that moment in your mind. It has got a great link. The touch will not be the true sensation of the object. It will be definitely connected with that thought. Same way, that what you see is based on your thought. We all know it. That what you hear will also be based on the thought at that moment in your turn. When you are angry, whatever you hear, pleasant things you hear, it will not be appealing to you and it will not be nice. When you are depressed, what you hear is not acceptable to you. Everything will have a retraction from the sensory system, or the sensory system will accept it as an absolutely based on the analysis created by the thought. So you imagine this. So when this happens, same thing happens when it will be transmitted through that fluid into the sensory system of the child also. You can compare this with this example, so you can definitely connect it. So this intervening space, even though they are two different individuals, this and this son, two different individuals, the intervening space which is apparent cause for the seeming disconnection is not empty. It's a vital fluid. The effect is when now one looks for a vital fluid, will not find it. The impact is vital fluid. There is always fluid in the atmosphere. Now he says, this the ordinary physical notion of the commonplace astronomers that space is not organically connected with the individual has to be given up, he says, very firmly. It is connected, he says. It's not that it is separate. Like I told you, I can also say that the child is separate from the mother. Child is separate from the mother. But in fact, higher aspect of astronomy going into the realm of astrology will tell us the space is not disconnecting element. That's how the stars have got an influence on the individual. No, the astrology has how the basic principle of astrology that has been created is based on this. That position of the stars at the time of the birth. At the time of the birth, the atmosphere has got a particular frequency at which certain stars in certain positions which has got influence on this individual is connected with the nervous system through this fluid is how the astrology has been calculated and formed. It's the basis of it. The exert of the tremendous influence, not merely in a mechanical manner, as the law of gravitation does, but in a very, very living, organic manner. That's it. It's an organism that takes place. So when a sun ray, subtle substance of the nerve currents is of different colors. They are of different colors automatically because the sun ray, when it is passing through the layer of this fluid, when it is reflecting on them, they will create, depending upon the intensity of those those fluids or the vibrational frequency of the fluids, the colors projected from that will be also different. So in a human being also the same thing happens. Depending upon your practices, these colors will be brownish yellow, white, blue or yellow or red. These are the types specifically mentioned in here. That's why Shukla, Pita, Loha has been explained. Or yellow and proper, or red. Yes. Okay. That's why he said, Tanti, Shuklasya, Neelasya, Pitasya, Lohitasya, he said. Lohitasya is again red. These are the types specially mentioned here through. There can be many other permutations and combinations of these colors because we cannot actually count the number of these nerve currents in the system. Numerous. Depending on combinations, permutation combinations of the various functions that we are doing, various vibrational frequencies, various thought levels in each and every minute that or every second, your thoughts, depending on the thoughts, how the nervous system is functioning, depending on the nervous system functioning, the rays, whether it is day or night, the sun rays are always there. Even though it is night, the sun rays are there. And the impact of sun rays are there. And through that, when the colors, the reflection of these colors will be based on your thought level and practices. So various nadis and the fluid level, through this fluid influences will function differently. So there are several thousands of nadis, but the principal among them are 101 in number. We have told this. It's believed from the standpoint of this section of the Upanishad that the colors of these nerve currents inside us are due to the influence of the sun upon us. Variegated influences are exerted upon us in the respect of constitution of our personality by rays of our sun. Even after the sun sets at night, it continues to influence us. The influence of the sun does not cease merely because it is midnight. It's a tremendous influence exerted upon the whole earth. Night and day make no difference as far as this particular function is concerned. When the effect of the sun through its rays has an impact upon the bile in our system, these juices become brownish yellow or in color. When there is phlegmatic element mixed with the bile, it's supposed to be the whitish in color. When the wind element is also included with it, that means to say, when the wind humor is a little more predominant, it assumes a blue color. When there is an equal distribution of the phlegmatic matter, the bile element becomes yellow, while the reddish element is due to preponderance of the red corpuscles in the blood influencing these juices in the system. Yes, that's why we always measure we always indicate blue as a color of the wind. So that they are not very just for color code. Some colors have been designed. The blue as wind, water as green. This, whenever you find even in factories, when you go, you will find the airline is when you see green pipeline, it's air. That's all you can understand. When you find blue pipeline, in blue means it is air, and if it is red, some gases and things like that. So these color codes are not just somebody has just created like that. They are based on these principles, the colors. And we have also explained in our Reiki sessions how the color codes, color frequency combination is created and how this is created. So this frequency of vibration is created in an empty space. How there can be a vibration? You can imagine. There has to be a medium in order to keep the vibrations as it is. So that's why he said that mystically the subtle fluid in the nervous system. Same way, that subtle fluid in the atmosphere, subtle fluid in the sun rays. Now you can imagine whatever the thoughts are created in you through this system of nervous system, it is transmitted into the sun, and whatever is in the sun is also transmitted in the body. Now, the sun and you are one. If this is being done, how the sun is different from you? Sun has the same thing. It's not that in the sun these colors are there. It is there in the nervous system, is what Maharshi is trying to tell us. Now the idea is that they are the reflections, as it were, of the sun's rays experienced by us through our own nervous system. That's it. So the Upanishad says that these colors are in the sun, they are in the nadis. But what about the causes thereof? These colors, brownish, yellow, white, blue, actual yellow and red, are the colors of the sun's internal structure. We know the sun rays have colors, and these are responsible for the colors of the juices which flow in the nerve currents. Not in the nerves, in the nerve currents. Even if the nerve is not there, the nerve current is there. Yes. Tad yatha mahapata, in the second mantra of section 6.8.6.2. Just as he is just telling us an example, you see. Just as a national highway is passing through villages, connects one section of village on one side and the other sections on the other side. Even so, the sun rays seem to be traveling throughout space like highways, as it were, emanating from the sun, touching the heavens on one side, influencing the individuals on the whole of earth on the other side. These rays of the sun are like passages of highways in entire space. They touch this world and also the other world. They enter even the minutest thing in this world, like X-rays penetrating through the objects. They penetrate through the nervous inside. They get refracted back into space, return to the sun, so that they convey a message to the sun, as it were, as to what our predicament is here. Thus we see the real living connection between the sun and ourselves. This is what he is trying to prove. Yes. So you will find. Thus we see the real living connections. The rays are like messages coming from the sun, conveying to us the message from the sun, and taking our message from here, conveying it back to the sun, like postman. This kind of work the rays of the sun perform much more effectively, vitally, than the postal department. Oh, he has also discussed about the postal department. The sun there and ourselves are here belong to one family and an undivided family. Most undivided families have divisions among the members, and the undivided is only an imagination. So you understand the meaning of it, of course. The conception is that ultimately, how do we understand this? Brahmam, Khalvit Sarvam, Khalvidam Brahmam. Everywhere there is Brahman. There is nothing in which Brahman is not there, is what he is trying to tell us, prove us. Now mechanically or spiritually or functionally, when you look at the planets and the sun is very important, considered as very important among the stars, among the planets, because the life form itself is from the sun. You see, the sunlight is not there, life form cannot be there. So what is it carrying to? And that also has been scientifically proved that it is through this fluid, through the current in the nervous system, nerve currents. So this fluid is there throughout the atmosphere. If it is there in our nerves, current, throughout the atmosphere it is there, connecting everything. So that's why he said, even if it is night, since the other side of the earth is getting the sunlight, the sun rays are already passing through to the earth, and the impacts are there in the nervous system of everyone, even if it is midnight. So this is how the functioning is taking place. Now these functions are creating in very high influence in us, in order to how we can think, how the thoughts are coming in us, how we are able to create a thought. I mean, is it we are creating a thought, or thoughts are coming? Thoughts are coming, we are not creating. It's based on the previous experiences we see. Karma bhala. Through karmas, whatever karma we have done, based on that the thoughts are coming. But how this reflection, the thoughts, the karma that you have done, according to human years, it is, let us say, 500 years ago, some karma has been done. Today, based on that karma, you are getting a thought. That's how you function. Yes, see? That's how you completely, or you function based on the karma balas. How this transaction takes place between the 500 years before and now. How does it happen? You have died in between 3 times. Your body 4 times. 500 years means, okay, at least 4 times. Died. How it has come then? From there, how it jumped into this? There is no question of jumping. There is no question of misconception on that. Every experience is there when as we said, we will be coming to that. When somebody is not passing through the Sushumna, it is through some other nadis. The rebirth is definitely taking place when the rebirth of the Sharira and Mana taking place. But as we said about the Udana collecting the information and transmitting it, keeping it in the store, in the sense, in the Atma itself, in the atmosphere itself, in the consciousness itself, every memory, every experience that you have undergone is already there. And for your information, whatever experiences you are undergoing, whether it is bad or good or right or wrong, is a combination of certain experiences which is already existing in the atmosphere. Nothing other than that which is existing in the existence can be created by you. Only thing, in shape and form it may look different, that's all. Yes, like one experience with another experience, there are all experiences are there in the consciousness or in the existence. Now, when we are executing a particular karma, consciousness B and consciousness X has been assimilated and created a karma phala. This, when it is resolved, it goes into the B and X only. It's not remaining as B plus X. It goes to B and X. But this being linked with your with your with your karma phala, that experiences which has been preserved in a particular form through dana, when the combination of experiences a Jivatma has undergone, which is taking different shapes and forms from one shape to another shape, another shape to another shape, another shape to another shape. Like, suppose a Kumbar, the pot maker, has made a mud pot like any other pot maker. This pot, he has painted it with different colors for creating appearance, good appearance. Has been used. Okay. When the pot is broken, from that clay again another pot has, from that clay, I'm just talking about only that clay. If another pot I have made, the colors which were there painted on that will be in an inherent form is there in the next pot. Am I right? That's very easy to understand. It's not visible, but it is inherent. So the karma that has been done by you in a different form and shape with a different inscription on that, even though the form and shape is different now, it is inherent in you. Finished. Am I clear? This is how the thought comes. This is how the karma phala transmits. So what happens? Till the time the process is there, how to get out of it, cycle. So now you imagine when the nervous system which is carrying the current in the fluid, in the nervous fluid, is interlinked when the reflection of the sun ray is passed through, even though the sun ray has got a particular color and combination, and through the atmosphere, through the existence, a whitish, let's call it as whitish, is reflecting. But because in your nervous currents, the impact of the previous karma phalas are being impeded, when the white rays are reflected on that, it will create another combination of color. It's not. That's why he said there are thousands of colors happening in us. Actually, it is like those disco lights. Things are happening in our whole body, going on. Depending upon your thought and action, these nerve currents are of different colors. Whenever it has got a different color, depending upon the frequency of that color, that particular organ and that particular system, nervous system, will start functioning. And if it becomes constant, if you are not changing that pattern of the current flowing through the nervous system, what happens? This becomes a permanent feature, and the permanent feature will create certain results. That's called the karma phala. If you rectify them, now learning Upanishad and Vedas, or through Upasana, Nididhyasana and things like that, when you have the quality of the Brahmacharyatva in you, what happens? In Brahmacharyatva, even though you have got karma phalas, even though the nervous system is carrying the different color currents are being flown through that, different color currents are being flown, but since you are practicing, now what you are doing? You are creating a stop to those thoughts coming from the impact of those results of the karma phalas. You are stopping them. Why? You are putting a fence of those stuff. Now what you are doing? Since you are listening to me, sometimes or most of the time, you put a fence for other thoughts to come in. I am listening this. You wait. If this constantly occupies the place, that waiting becomes dissolution. There is a period for waiting. It cannot, unlimited waiting can take place. Dissolution takes place in the sense, the color of the current flowing through the nervous system will automatically change into white, jnanam. That's why white light is representing the jnanam. And when that is synchronized with the sun rays, what happens? The being, the existence and the color of the currents flowing in the system, as far as current supposed to be flowing, both become same. Immediately what happens? You get a mukti, moksha. Release, ultimate release from those impacts of this karma phalas, because the karma phala is no more there. Unless this is this is existing, this current flowing, the current through nervous system flowing has that color, those thoughts cannot be created by that. This, when it is changing its color automatically into white, what happens? Those thoughts get automatically dissolved. Do you get it now? Because they are the reflections of these, the karma phalas. So they get dissolved. When it gets dissolved, only, let me call it as sun ray, only sun ray remains. When sun ray remains, you and the sun becomes one. When you and the sun becomes one, in Upanishad as well as in the Puranas and Vedas have told, Surya Patha, to choose the death, will attain the Brahmaloka. What is Surya Patha? Surya Patha, the one who is practicing all these great things, walks through. You remember, I think this has been discussed very early days of Upanishad. The one who is getting the Brahmaloka will pass through Surya Patha, others will go through the Chandra Patha. How is it connected? See, this is how it is. So, like, where am I? Okay, so this disconnection is misconception in our minds. What is that disconnection? So we can imagine what integral connection we have really with the atmosphere and the heavens and the stellar system, in spite of our apparently being here as if separated and disconnected. This disconnection is a misconception in our minds. This we have already discussed also some time back here itself, a few days back, that if we are thinking that we are an individual, it is absolutely wrong. It's all the parts of the existence. So there will be, every impact is from the existence, as well as our karma phalas are also different combinations of those experiences that is there in the existence, creating that, reflecting that in us. We, due to our own identity of mind and body, identification of mind and body, and identity of that ego place in that, so we create a separate world, as we discussed in the last class, a separate world, thinking that I am different and independent. It doesn't know that it's an integral part of it. Without knowing it's an integral part of it, it thinks it's an independent unit, and it starts it starts trying to function individually and independently. Like the salt is extracted from the sea water. After the salt is extracted, it becomes granules. Each granule thinks it is independent. Where has it come from? From that water. So what happens? When it again goes back into the water and merges, diluted, till then it thinks that I have an independent function. But we know, you put in that, dissolved. The independency has gone. There is only dependency of that from where it has come. We are like that. That's all. So when this function takes place, then what happens? All the qualities of that salt water is there in the salt. But it thinks it is different. The bird is thinking different, the animal is thinking different, we are thinking different. That's why the Puranas and the Upanishads said, I'm just connecting you towards that when you function based on certain karmas, when the nervous system is carrying those currents which are of different colors, and the Udana is taking the experience and storing it in itself, whatever experience you are undergoing, depending upon that intensity of the experiences and the fluid, color of the fluid passing through the current of the nervous system, depending on that, your thought process will function, and based on your thought process, when you die, the same thought process remain in you, in the sense in you, in that storage, and based on that, you will take a rebirth. That's why they said from human, it can be an animal, it can be a bird, it can be this, depending upon the. That's why we say detach. That's why Brahmacharya has been learned. That's why Samarpana Bhava has been learned. That's why Upasana has to be learned. Otherwise, what happened? This reason, but one doesn't realize, one doesn't understand. Okay, somebody, even if it is told to someone, they say that doesn't matter. Even if I am a dog next Janma, how does it matter? I am not experiencing that dog's characteristic now. But actually, because he is practicing dog's characteristics now, is why he is becoming a dog, that he doesn't understand. Otherwise, he would not become a dog. It's a Prakriti Niyama. It is not that any manipulation there. Depending upon your practice, you become that. So a rebirth can be based on the body, what you are achieving or accessing can be depending upon the present thought. Let me put, not going into so many details, the thought, that's all. That's why from the beginning we had been telling, the thought process has to be changed. How? Create a fence and then constantly flowing through the jnanam into that, what happens? The tapasvis, jnanis, maharishis who have not educated in school and they don't know any language, have been revealed the Brahman in them. Automatically having revealed the Brahman in them, they disconnected the materialistic world which has got the malfunctioning of the system as well as preoccupation of the minds and the functions is removed based on the knowledge that they have achieved through the tapasya. Well, there are only very few people who can attain that, because such, especially in Kali Yuga, such penance through such severe tapasya is not possible by these human beings who are entangled in the maya of the world. So it's not so. So for that facility only, these studies have been, Maharishis have created such studies, such Upadesha. I told you the meaning of Upadesha. This is a Desha, and that is the Upadesha. Go to the Upadesha, through the Upadesha. That's why it is said. Then in the third sloka he says, it is these nerve currents that are responsible for the withdrawal of mind. See, It is these nerve currents are responsible for the withdrawal of mind. We are asking now, how can I change the thought? Thoughts are coming because these thoughts have been created by you. There are no thoughts come to you which is not created by you. Am I telling? How can you think? What Barack Obama is thinking now, can you think the same? Can you create the thought in you? What our Prime Minister Narendra Modi is thinking, can somebody else think? Why is he not able to think as he is thinking? Nerve currents that are spoken, because his experience of those karmas that he is executing has created certain pattern of nerve currents which is synchronizing with the existence, and when it is tallying with that, the results are exactly as it is there in the existence. Yes, as it is there in the existence. When the results are exactly as in the existence, that and this become same. So this becomes the existence. Alright? Are you getting clarity on this very important subject? How to, of course, at least to understand it. So withdrawal, Maharishi, the Rishi Maharishi is telling us, it is the nerve currents that are responsible for the withdrawal of the mind into itself in deep sleep. In the sense, including the deep sleep. That means eliminating all those results. Deep sleep is what? Deep sleep means vanishing of, evaporating other things, removing all other things. Deep sleep. What we call as deep sleep, the composure of mind, the withdrawal of the mind from all sense activity, exactly same thing. All sense activity. Retiring from all the dream experience also, where one knows nothing. That experience is brought about by the travel of various rays of the mind through these nerve currents to the center of the heart. Here the heart is Atma. There the mind that lies sleeping and inactive, doing nothing and knowing nothing. So these nadis have some part to play even in the activity called psychic sleep. In the state of deep sleep, we are overpowered by supernal light. These nadis have some part to play even in the activity of psychic sleep. What is psychic sleep? A sleep-induced, psych in the sense what? The understanding of the mind at that particular point of time. Even if you are not feeling sleepy, one can make you sleep. Psychic, it's called psychic sleeping. Yeah? Listening Upanishad is psychic sleeping. Listening Vedas is psychic sleeping. In terms of that sleeping is concerned, not the physical sleeping. Listening to the great tattvas, Shastra, Brahma tattvas are psychic sleeping. Through this psychic sleeping, you reach the real sleep state. What is the sleep state? Sushupta avasta. When Sushupta avasta in the superlative, what happens? In Sushupta avasta in superlative, what you call? That avasta is called the fourth avasta, Turiyam. Because the Turiya avasta doesn't have an explanation. This is the explanation of Turiya avasta. Unless the externality and superlative of this Sushupta avasta is identified, Turiya avasta cannot be understood because it's again mystical. An avasta which is mystical, which cannot be explained. There are no words to explain that. So when you identify them, in order to change, that's what I said, change the thought. If you can change the sleep, that means you are stopping all other invasion By preoccupying the currents, the nerve currents, preoccupying the nerve currents with the activity of this Upanishad, let me call it as Upanishad, okay, or the Brahma Tattva, automatically when the rays from the sun is reflected on that, it becomes the Tattva of the existence. When it synchronizes with the existence, and that and this nerve current are the same of existence as well as the nerve current become same, what happens? The nerve current become the existence. When the nerve current become existence, where is the entry for the thoughts? If at all the thoughts come, the thoughts of those which are there in the existence or according to design of the existence only will come. That's the Brahmacharya. That's why in that world, thoughts or what we call it as thoughts and experiences and karmas are totally different. That's why he said, two oceans when they join together, when there is a tank of nectar, a competence and a confidence, today we are all doing for the safety of for what? Insecurity. Everyone is living with insecurity, that's all. We are trying to secure ourselves, except, not animals and all, but human being. Security and survival. Whereas in that case, what happened? When the tank of nectar means what? The thought of existence or thought of survival is not at all there, because the tank of nectar is always available, is the meaning of it. When that immortality is always available nearby you, will you be desiring something to retain your Atma or body, mind or something like that? No. There are no requirements. So Kalpavruksha is also not necessary. Even though assurance of Kalpavruksha is there. Suppose you want something, go and sit under the tree and ask for it. When the Atma has got so many reassurances, the insecurity as we have in our mind today with the body and Sharira, body and Mana, will not be there as far as the Atma is concerned, because through the experience of the nerve currents, we have synchronized ourselves with the existence. We became the existence through the Surya Pathas, Turiya rays, became the existence. So automatically a revelation of the immortality has been imposed on the Atma, even if it doesn't want. It's imposed on Atma. The consciousness, the higher consciousness, we call it as higher consciousness, prevalent in the Atma, is rest assured. The nectar is always there. The Kalpavruksha is always there to my availability at any point of time. So I don't have to worry. Suppose you say that, okay, by just doing like that, you get everything. Will you worry about tomorrow? Will you worry about the things? Will I get it or not? Today's worry is only that, no. Today's worry is only about tomorrow and will I get it or not. These are the only two worries. Anything you connect with this. These are the only two worries. When I have the facility of attaining that, will you have this? No. That is called the highest consciousness. So what happened? You travel from the lower consciousness to the higher consciousness. So the mode is what? The method is what? Changing the color of the nerve currents. That means the karma phala, they said in a different word, solving the karma phala is to execute a karma as a karma or vikarma, and then not doing as a karma, so automatically the karma phalas these are all same. Karma phalas are not accrued, and by that what happens? You do not have a karma phala sustaining in you, then you get mukti and moksha. Karma phala is an ichha. Karma phala is a desire. Karma phala is an attachment. Karma phala gives you pleasure. Karma phala gives you creation of further desires and attachments and attractions. That's why he said to remove that. This doing that, the same thing happens when the karma phala, not when you execute a normal person. When a person, through the jnanam, through the tapasya, he identifies the karma as not the karma and execute that, what happens? The nerve currents will change. The color of the nerve currents change. Then automatically, the process is automatic then. Then automatically, because of the sun rays are of that, and the atmosphere is, or the existence is of that experience, this and that becomes synchronized. When it becomes same, no third person or third agent is required to join them. It is not necessary. Is it necessary? When you open the window, the wind gushes inside. The inside wind and outside wind, or inside breeze and outside breeze, merges together. Is it because of your capacity or your effort or any other source of any powers that is merging them together? Just do it. Because they become of the same quality, the same density, same quality, same existence. So the nerve currents. So this is how you change your nerve currents, by the changing of karma. We have explained about karma balance by the upasana, by various methods, and then when the nerve currents are changed, automatically when this is taking place, the thoughts that are there, which is making you function as you are now and disappointing you from the karma mukti, will make you happy by doing the karma mukti. That's all. By resolving the problem of the thoughts invading you. That means the thoughts then invading you will be absolutely same as in the existence. So there is no question of difference between you and the existence at that point of time. Is why it has not been specified. Is that clear? So these nadis have some part to play even in the activity called psychic sleep. So these are all psychic sleep. Induced psychic sleep, in the sense induced. In the state of deep sleep, we are overpowered by supernal light. So light is that, is it? Light has been specified as jnanam. Light has been specified as Brahman, because when the synchronization with the sun and the ray and this nerve current taking place, what happens? It will be equivalent to sun. Suppose you look at the sun, what happens? You get blinded, is it not? When you look at the sun constantly for some time, you can't see anything. What happens? You can't see anything. So in the light, we can't see anything. The physical seeing is no more there, and that supernal light. In that supernal light, which is known as the sunlight or the Brahman, or the light of the Brahman, what happens? We don't see anything. We experience it. That seeing is totally different. Then it becomes a vision. It's not seeing. When it is seeing, the seer is there, the karta is there. There are various opinions as to what happens in deep sleep. They differ from one to the other. One of the theories is that we fall asleep on account of fatigue, the senses, which result in exhaustion of the mind searching for happiness in this world. The other doctrine is that the bilious element in our system, bilious element in our system gets roused up due to activity of the sun's rays during the day, and they make us fatigue in a different way altogether, compelling us to sleep. Is the second opinion. Third theory is that the mind goes back to its source. It is overwhelmed by the light of the Atman. Light of the Atman. This getting blinded by the light is in the way of equal to seeing nothing. It is darkness. This is very mystical doctrine of the sleep, which tells us that we are confronted by the brilliance of the Atman when we go to sleep, and therefore On account of there being nothing to see, objectiveness being withdrawn completely, we fall into a mood of so-called unconsciousness. Merely because there is nothing for the senses to do. There is nothing for the mind to think. So when there is nothing to sense, nothing to think, what is our condition? It's falling back into the oblivion of all kinds of experiences. Falling back into the oblivion of all kinds of experiences. When all kinds of experiences are being experienced at the helm of affairs of the Brahmaloka, these experiences are dissolved. That's the bright light. That's what he says. Deep sleep. That's why the mind stops thinking. And the nervous system is synchronized with the sun rays, and we go back to, the mind goes back to its reality, its original position, which is known as Brahman. Yes. That's why they always, Turiya avasta is compared with the Sushupta avasta. In Sushupti, you don't feel anything. So, I told you about this. But in Turiya avasta, consciously you feel the Sushupta avasta. Okay, the next is the fourth mantra. Fourth mantra we'll take. Fourth and fifth we'll take. Oh, almost. This chapter will be over. Fourth and fifth we'll take, and that this chapter will be closed. VIII.6.4. Shambho.